Well, hello, folks. It's been a while. I haven't sat down at my desk and talked. Um, had some friends visiting, so I was busy with that, and I still have some friends who are going to be here for a few weeks, which is nice. And working on some other things, still reading a lot, which is, not making me feel that great. It's not depressing me or killing me or anything, but it's hard to see how we're going to dodge our humanity, that which makes our species unique. And I just find all these roadblocks when I think about all the potential and possibilities we have and all the hardwired aspects of being Homo sapiens kind of getting in the way. How difficult it is to coordinate across cultures, to accomplish things, to agree on stuff, to find cohesion, coherence, all that kind of stuff. Isolation's not good for people. There's lots of studies out there about orphanages where children were left unattended. They don't do so well. They don't survive. They don't develop cognitive capacities that we take for granted. Um, Jane Goodall's done studies with chimpanzees about their social groups and need for companionship, status, all that kind of stuff. And we're like that. We belong to superorganisms. You can call them a culture, ideological affinity, religion, even maybe social media. I always think about nation states like the Nordic Secret type of thing, Lene's work, that you can be open minded about other countries and live and let live while still having a great sense of identity and pride in your own country and being willing to sacrifice certain subjective ideals for the greater good or the moral beliefs of your community or your country or so on and so forth. All these things are so many good aspects of how human beings can develop if they're given the right opportunities, consideration, and care and education in certain ways. We need affection, we need attention, we need status. Um, this is fairly well researched all over the place. Uh, even heroes are insecure. There's lots of games we play, status games, like, you walk away from your girlfriend after a nice date and you don't look back. And she does. And she's like, wow, he didn't even look back. You pretend to ignore a threat, to be nonchalant about it so that you don't signal that you're worried about the threat. And in that way, you maintain a certain amount of power. There's so many aspects of being human that we take for granted, we don't think about. Biases and heuristics. Heuristics we can't live without, we can't survive without, but biases we should become aware of and careful about so that we aren't fooled by them or don't become trapped in certain habits that aren't really going to help us grow or achieve what we want to achieve. Ideas around agency, freedom and choice, and of course, consciousness and free will and all those things are there. As I said, reading a lot, not very happy about it. So I think what I'm going to do is just limit my comments at my desk to short observations about certain things that are inherent to human nature, if you will, human community, psychology, whatever. Our state of affairs in general as humans on this planet, and get through it to try to get a bead on what it is about us that's so interesting and powerful, and also kind of contains the seeds of our demise, if you will. Studies have come out looking at extinction rates for new species are higher than extinction rates for old species. One can imagine intuitively why that might be. maybe older species have been through a lot more over time, or they just occupy a certain niche and way of life that doesn't get them in trouble. Our species is relatively new, and within certain constraints and limits, we thrive. Obviously, one can debate our social systems and so on. Feudalism, for example, versus being a salaryman in Japan or whatever. But we all belong to these organizations and bigger pictures, and in some ways, we're pushing the envelope radically in an accelerationist sense with our techno-optimism and all that kind of thing, transhumanism that I obsess about all the time. And we may be leaving behind certain ways of being that are very necessary and needed. I listened to Jordan Hall recently on Jim Rutt's show, and he was talking about his conversion to Christianity, and I was a bit worried about it. He's a consultant type, so he explains things in consultant speak, and he's very intellectual, but I think he's sincere and earnest, and I'm always interested to hear what he has to say. Maybe it's too abstract for some people, but he was trying to explain how he arrived at being a sincere, true Christian. I still have a lot of questions about that, because it's not like a Hayyan Hirsi Ali type Christianity where you're just aligning yourself with some kind of better political position or Western traditional tradition. And sometimes I think about what Einstein said about, or was it Gandhi? Gandhi was saying about Western civilization. He said, it's a good idea. We should try it. But anyway, his seems like an interesting inversion, and he's kind of given up the Civium project. He's already articulated on that for a long time, and moved to a nice sleepy town in North Carolina where people seem to have the Civium attitude. These broad networks of global nodes versus the high touch communal reality of being in relationship with your family and friends and people you work with and live alongside of, and so on and so forth. And all of these things, boiling down to, how we're going to deal with AI culturally and in every other way, how we're going to deal with, brain implants and other technologies we're having. On the other hand, we're going to the moon. A bunch of countries are going to the moon. That's pretty exciting. So it's like every day is a new For All Mankind episode. I'm finding that really fun. But as I said, I think I'm going to limit my conversations to just one aspect of what I'm concerned about or thinking about that relates to human nature, our predicament now and going into the future in that specific sense. And what we might have to do to transcend it and be more mature about it and less emotional and more capable of being creative, because we have to imagine what's next, because I really do think that we're getting, well, they love the word inflection point, but we're getting to this transitional period where it looks like one kind of civilization is going to go away and another one has to rise up. And however violent or tumultuous or peaceful that is remains to be seen. I'm not very hopeful it's going to be a very harmonious transition. But we need a new economy, a new way of thinking about economics. We need a new financial system. We need a new idea of currency and digital identity, which I also read Jordan Hall write about recently in Medium. And that is a big deal, actually. And who's going to be in charge of all these things, like, a digital currency that is, pegged to a central bank or to a dollar, something like that. Goldman Sachs wants to do it, of course. These big big investment banks, and they want to tell you that they're gonna maintain your privacy. But we know from looking at big tech corporations like Facebook and Google, even if they try to do that, they don't do the greatest job. And we know that the ultimate incentive behind a private bank or investment bank is quarterly profits. So good luck with the idea that they're going to really be concerned about your privacy. On the other hand, if it's the government or a hybrid managing a system like that, you would want to have good regulation. So you would need good governance, good government, and we don't have much faith in institutions anymore. So we would have to look at developing new structures and systems where that we can trust. People talk about the blockchain and other technologies, and that could all be really, really good, but we'll see. At any rate, most of us don't think about these things all the time, and we definitely don't think about what makes us human beings, Homo sapiens, and the little glitches in our programming and how easy it is to manipulate us and so on. So I want to go through all of that bit by bit, little slice by little slice. And then at the end, hopefully, I can put this whole thing to bed and move on, because the more I've studied and read doesn't make me more enlightened or more educated or better aware or more effective as in anything, as if I were a leader or an important person. It's just a subjective personal project. I want to understand our situation and my situation within it, and I can't help it. I don't know why that is, So when I was studying acting a long time ago, they'd say, a teacher would say something like, "Why do you want to be an actor?" And the good answer would be, "I can't think of anything else I'd rather do. I just have to do this." Because if you weren't totally committed to it 1,000%, your chances of making it were very slim. And even if you were totally committed and did everything your whole career to make a good living at it, your chances of success were very slim anyway. So, there's that. But for some of us, we're just uncontrollably curious and interested in life, in how it all fits together. So every little story of every little thing is interconnected with everything else. And I heard another thing, I can't remember where, the other day, where, time is like the unraveling of a sweater in the present. And while you're unraveling one sweater, you're making a new one constantly, moment by moment, as opposed to just something that exists in the past and exists in the future, because the future hasn't been written yet, right? So in that sense, if we do develop greater agency and self-awareness and maturity and intellectual understanding and spiritual presence and attention, we might be able to weave that sweater, to actually come up with what's next. But we would have to do that in community with each other and across cultures around the world. There's no way to get around that. So we would need some global institutions that we could trust for some reason. We'd have to build a substrate or a foundation that would allow us to develop and work in that way. And I don't know if that's possible. We're still all focused in on the us and them thing. Yeah, it's dog eat dog. You have enemies out there. The barbarians are at the gate, and if we want to promote our way of life or defend it, we might have to fight against barbarians. But today in 2024, I just don't see the big, huge discrepancies that are that dangerous and horrific. Yeah, okay, you can make generalizations about Islam or Christianity or communism or whatever, but you don't understand that within all of these ideological or religious groups, there's many sects, many cultures, and they don't all behave in the same way. So I think you can enhance the good in things while diminishing the bad, and yet keep the tradition in a way in which you can constantly, through your imagination and engagement with it, develop an interpretation and understanding that's overall positive and healthy and good for you, even when you're talking about genocide in the Bible or slavery in the Bible. People do it all the time. People believe weird things. That's just the way we are. And we can derive pleasure, insight, wisdom from these weird things as much as pathological ways of thinking and behaving. So these are important. Yeah, I could just talk like this for hours. I wish you were here right in front of me, and we would just go on and on until we got tired. But I'll stop now, and I'll come back again and focus just on one little thing, and hopefully have some anecdotes and some quotes and some references that you can look at. And try to keep it below 10 minutes, maybe 15 minutes at the most. And I hope that people find that interesting and engaging. As short as I can keep it, I'll keep it. So I'll probably have to write scripts for this just to keep, or outline it just to keep it brief so I don't go on from one thing to another. I hope you are all doing well, and the new year has been good to you. I hope you're all working for peace in whatever way you can. These wars have to end. All wars end in a negotiated settlement, and the sooner we start that process, the better, because drawing out these wars is not really going to get us anything at the end of the day. We're net losers, all of us, humanity as a whole, not to mention the victims of the wars. And I mean all the victims, okay? My horse in this race, or my dog in this race, is humanity, human potential, understanding that all human beings that are abused and wasted, it's tragedy. It's tragic to waste human life and potential creativity, love, connection. It breaks my heart. I don't understand why anyone would want to cheer it on, but people do, because we're programmed to. And propaganda is strong. The force is strong in the mainstream media and elsewhere, and it's hard to fight against it. So anyway, I hope you do more than pray for peace, whatever little thing you can do. And I hope that you and yours are doing well. And I wish you a lot of health and, at least the will to create opportunities for yourself to thrive in whatever conditions you find yourself in, whatever way. I know that's hard coming from a weird guy like me, but, that's my hope for people. So I'll sign out now. This is Bulliam T. Thanks a lot. Out.